Welcome back to Midnight in the Mountains. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing fine tonight. Laura, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm okay.
We're currently experiencing like second winter, 41 degrees, pouring down rain, wind blowing at about 30 miles an hour. Not the most pleasant evening.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was feeling like spring for a while here a little bit, and then now all of a sudden it's back to winter again. I guess it's gonna get real cold and we're gonna have like a foot of snow overnight, possibly.
I don't think the state of Tennessee could like handle a foot of snow. I'm pretty sure that it would be like the snow apocalypse. Like they'd be rescuing people out of their cars, and you see all kinds of weird things on the news.
The economy would like collapse for the week.
But the funny thing though is, especially this time of year, like if let's say we got a foot of snow tonight, it may only last like 2 days, and it could be 60 degrees in 2 days. Tennessee weather's so weird. Like we have this saying where if you don't like the weather, just wait a day. It'll be different.
Yeah, it's like that. I remember when I went to Montana once, and it's literally like that. 1 minute it's hot and sunny, and then the next minute there's this dark storm coming through, like thunder, lightning, and then it just changes, and it's so weird.
It is, yeah. Yeah, Tennessee is very, especially even with temperature-wise. Like, I mean, one day it could be 20 degrees. Next day it could be 70 degrees, and then back to 30 the day after. Like it's very, very weird how it works, but which is fine. I mean, it just makes life a little more interesting.
It's a wonder you don't get sick more often.
Yeah, I think you kind of get used to it after a while.
I guess.
Especially in the wintertime, we don't really do a whole lot of things outside. Like, I mean, you're literally just like walking to your car, go to work. Like, there's not a whole lot to do outside in Tennessee in the wintertime. I mean, I guess you could always go hiking and things like that, but
I just went hiking like 2 days ago with my dog, and it was pretty warm out. I think I wore a hoodie and like a vest, and I had a beanie on, but like everybody and their mother was out with their dog walking around.
Oh, yeah.
So it was pretty cool. Got to see some cute dogs, and yeah, he had a good time.
I bet he enjoyed the exercise.
Oh yeah, he loves it. Loves it.
And I do have to say, before we get into this week's episode, I'm happy that Kansas City won the Super Bowl. Very proud of them. Go Chiefs.
I didn't even know who won until you just said it now. I got invited to somewhere, and I went there for a while and mostly went to eat some food, some wings, pulled pork, that kind of stuff. And I brought my laptop, and I worked on a YouTube channel for the show.
Exciting.
And that's about all I did. And I did watch the halftime show, which I will say I didn't hate it. It was probably one of the better halftime shows I've seen in quite a while.
I was really impressed with him coming out on roller skates. Like, how much practice did he have to do that?
Oh my gosh. And then all the girls that were doing that too, I'm like, imagine you just mess up for a second, you're gonna fall. That was really crazy.
They also said that this year's halftime show was the one of the longest ones ever. Like, it was a full 15-minute one.
Oh wow, I didn't even notice.
Not every year, but a lot of years, they kind of split the duties between a couple people.
They do.
And where Usher was just like completely headlining this one, and they didn't really have like their stage wasn't really that big.
Mm-hmm.
And, so there wasn't a whole lot of setup. They just basically rolled everything out, and, they were ready to rock and roll.
I will have to say, though, my sister's like, how old is he? I'm like, I don't know, man, but he sure as hell looks like he did 20 years ago. He is like aging like a fine wine. My God.
I think we looked it up. I want to say he was like 55, I think.
Yeah, he looks like he's fucking 30.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of see it like in his face a little bit. Like
yeah.
It always shows in the face. Let's see how. Oh no, I was way wrong. He's 45.
Oh shit. Sorry, Usher.
Yep, my bad.
I would have probably guessed the same thing too, though.
Yeah, but 45. I mean, that means he's a year older than I am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's in way better shape than I am. Let's just put it that way.
But my sister said too, though, she's like, he's probably got like personal chefs and trainers, and he gets probably like skin treatments and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if I had that kind of money, I would too. So.
Oh yeah, go to the spa twice a week, eat the healthiest food.
Yeah.
Personal trainers.
That would be amazing.
But I do want to hear some more about the YouTube channel that you created for us. I'm super excited to check it out.
So I am so proud of myself because I've said a million times, like, I am not tech savvy. It's a miracle that I can even record and edit a podcast. And I figured out all on my own by actually going on YouTube and watching how to use iMovie to make a video. And yeah, I did that, and I just kind of went on YouTube and uploaded some stuff. I only have like 3 things on there, and then I was so excited I sent it to just about anybody that I could think of that would actually like subscribe and actually care about it. So I did all that, and that was pretty cool because I thought like I was actually going to need more help. And which brings me to my next point. My friend Nomar Slevik, which I asked him like a little bit about like the YouTube stuff, but he's like, oh yeah, no, like this is how you do it. Good job, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. So, I mean, if it wasn't for him, I would not know how to edit a podcast, because I mean, my friend Dylan helped me a lot. And I would spend hours and hours on YouTube trying to learn how to edit and stuff. And when I tell you, I have nagged the shit out of my friend Nomar. It's not a joke. Like, bless his heart, because he is so patient and so kind. And I have asked him so many questions, and he just does everything like he possibly can to help me. And I've had him edit some of the episodes for me in the beginning when I didn't know what I was doing. And he actually made like the intro and the outro for the podcast, which brings me to my next point is we have our very first listener email.
Woohoo!
And it is from Nomar. So I am super stoked to read it.
I cannot wait to hear it.
I skimmed through it a little bit just to kind of get a grasp about what it's like on, and it seems like a pretty good one. So, I mean, we could get into that now if you want to.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay. So now, before I start, Nomar is a author. He's also a podcaster too, so I'm going to put all of his links in the show notes, everything. And he is actually he's like re-releasing one of his books, and he's adding more to it. And it's called UFOs Over Maine, and it's the 10th anniversary of the book. And the cover is absolutely stunning. It has like a lighthouse on it and the ocean. And he's actually doing like a Gofundme for it. And it's $32. You get an autographed copy of the book. You get a bookmark, a sticker, and that includes the shipping and everything. So if you're interested in something like UFOs, aliens, and stuff, I have one of his other books. It's good. So I highly recommend it. Let me get into this email.
And I'm sure we'll put the link to his GoFundMe in the show notes.
Yep, I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to put his Instagram, everything like that. He's such a good guy. He's so kind. So I just need to like pay it forward to him because he has done so much to help me. But anyways, absolutely. So this is what the email says. Creature sighting. February 10th, 2020, 5:54 p.m., Ellsworth, Maine. Driving on Bayside Road in Ellsworth, Maine, approximately 2 miles from Trenton Town Line, I witnessed a 5 to 6 foot tall being on the left side of the road. I was traveling at 44 miles per hour, cruise control was on. It was all black. In fact, it was so dark and shiny that it seemed like it could have been covered in a shiny black substance resembling oil or tar. It glistened when my headlights hit the creature at about 100 yards away. I watched it as it stepped into the woods and out of sight. It was lanky. I approached the area in which I thought it had stepped into, stopped, rolled down the window, and looked into the woods. I was hoping to see a person or at least hear obvious walking in the woods. I saw and heard nothing. I then smelled a foul odor like rotting eggs. It filled my car and stayed with me for a couple miles while I continued home. The entire sighting lasted 2 or 3 seconds. And he has his father's story listed below, so I'm going to read that too. It says, on Sunday morning, July 22nd, 2018, around 4:30 a.m., my father was taking a walk with my mother down Bayside Road heading toward Ellsworth. As they were walking by a house close to the road, my father noticed something large and white from his peripheral vision. He turned to look at what it might be, and he saw a tall, all-white figure with no legs and no discernible head. He saw it briefly when it glided behind a shed that was on the property. He estimated the height of the shed to be 9 to 10 feet and explained that the figure was as tall as the shed. This happened within about 10 seconds or so. He did get my mother's attention, but she did not see it. My father shined his flashlight in the area of the shed and saw nothing further. He then looked at the house that was on the property and saw a black shadowy figure go by a window and thought the figure to be inside of the home. He did not think it to be a person as it was not a humanoid shaped, but couldn't describe it other than it was black and shadowy. He is a skeptic, and he said to my mother at the time of the sighting, I have to tell my son about this. I don't believe in ghosts, but that was weird. So there's some weird stuff going on up in Maine.
So the creature that his father saw, it described it as 9 to 10 feet tall.
Yep.
Whitish in color, or white in color.
Mm-hmm.
But with no legs and no head.
Yeah.
Right?
No discernible head. So that just sounds kind of like a blobby kind of.
Like a blob? Yeah, a blob with arms maybe. It's kind of interesting that they made the distinction there was no legs, but they never said anything about any arms.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I don't know, that makes me wonder, like, you know, these sightings, if there's something that's different dimensions or like laying over other dimensions, and then we can kind of get a glimpse into one when it crosses over and we're not getting the full picture, or just something weird like that.
Yeah, I can see that, like a mirage almost.
Yeah,
you know, like not like fully defined, I guess would be a better way of putting it. Or maybe even distorted like a mirror. Like when you go to a fun house and the mirrors kind of distort what you look like.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I just where I live in Tennessee, it's not super rural. I mean, there's rural parts for sure, but like I don't know if I would actually recognize something shiny and black. Like, I guess I would probably think it was like a reflection or a shadow or
garbage
or
bag
something like
or
that.
something.
Yeah, like especially if it was the dead of night, because I'm sure in Maine, which is a lot more rural than it is here, if there's no moon out, it's going to be dark.
Yep. I didn't know the second story, but when I read the first story, I remember him telling me about that, because like back when I first started the podcast, I tried to just pick people and interview them, and I shortly realized that I'm awkward and not a good interviewer. So I stopped doing that, and I do have an episode with him, and I believe that he told me this story on that episode, and I remember just sent freaking chills down my spine.
To me, it's interesting that he remembered exactly what speed he was going.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that reminds me of is when I have the cruise control set somewhere, I always do, like if it's 45, I'll set it for 49, or if it's 40, set it for 44, because, they probably won't get pulled over that way.
Right.
So that part's fairly interesting.
That's a good point.
I guess where I was trying to go with that was if he recalled the speed he was going so well, he was more very detail oriented. So like, if he remember what speed he was going, like he's recounting what he saw with a lot of detail along with that.
Oh, yeah. This paranormal stuff is his jam. So, of course, he's going to be like, all right, let me get my ducks in a row. I'm going to, the time, everything like that, and like try to remember exactly. So, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the only other thing I think of is it seems like I hear in stories when somebody smells something, it always smells like rotten eggs, like sulfur almost.
That has something to do with paranormal stuff. There's a theory that things that are like evil or demonic have like a sulfur smell to them. I don't know if it's the dimension they come from smells like sulfur or something like that, or they just give off that odor. It has something to do with evil, that there's this sulfur paranormal smell.
You've heard of the saying, like Catholics talk about hell, like it's hellfire and brimstone.
Yeah.
Brimstone is another word for like a sulfur smell.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. That's really interesting.
That's what made me think of it. Like as soon as you said that, like sulfur smell, it just kind of like the hellfire, brimstone, demonic hell creature.
I have a friend I'm going to have to ask about that because he does a lot of research and looks into stuff like that. So I'm definitely going to hit him up after this and see what he says.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good story. I'm glad he shared with us tonight.
Yeah, and you know what? You know what creeps me out about that so bad is I lied. I remember the last episode when I had said that I had only watched American Horror Story for like 15 seconds. Well, I had forgotten that a long time ago, I watched, I think it was like the first season. I watched it with my ex-boyfriend and my sister. And he would like come over and sleep over my house every night. And all three of us would like sit in the living room and we watched the first season of American Horror Story. And it was horrifying. I remember I was like working on crafts the whole time because I couldn't stand it because it's so morbid. But in that season, there's this one character where he like wears this oil slicked looking suit and it covers his whole body and it is the creepiest looking thing ever. So when Nomar told me this story, that's what I thought of.
Ah, that is very interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they made a character in the show wearing that suit, and I'm pretty sure like he killed people in the show. And then I've heard of people seeing black oil slick looking creatures. So I wonder what that's even about.
Yeah, it's, we may never know what it's really about.
No, I want to know.
Well, yeah, we always want to know. Yeah, so thanks, Nomar. Thanks for sharing that with us tonight. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. And then I have some other weird stories if you want to hear them.
Oh, I do. Do tell.
Okay, so I guess I'll start from the beginning, which makes the most sense. There's a place that I work. I'm not going to give names. I'm not going to say where any of this stuff is, nothing like that. Okay, so it's a family-owned company, and the daughter and her husband live on one part of the property, and then, like, the father and his wife, they live on the other part of the property, and then, like, the main business is kind of, like, in the middle. So the daughter's husband, he went up in the woods the one day, and he went to just like go chill out. He brought like a hammock with him, hung it up in the trees, and I think he had like brought his rifle with him or something, just in case for protection. Like, you never know. It's rural Pennsylvania. There's animals and stuff. So he's up there. He's like just sitting there, hanging out, relaxing, and next thing you know, he sees this deer, and he said the deer did not look right, and it's instead of its eyes being on the side of its head, they were like more forward facing. And he said he had the most primal fear ever come over him, and it scared the absolute shit out of him. He just felt like this is not a normal deer. There's something wrong with this thing. And there's that phenomenon that's called the not deer, where it's like, it's not a deer with chronic wasting disease or anything like that. It's just some kind of creature presenting itself as a deer, but it's not really a deer. I don't know if it's a skinwalker or like some kind of shapeshifter thing. I had asked his wife, and she's like, I don't know. I don't want to hear about it because she's so scared of that kind of stuff. She doesn't even want to admit to the possibility that there could be something weird, but she's like, there are some really weird deer looking around here, because like she'll go out, she doesn't hunt, but she'll go out with them when they hunt. So she's around and sees stuff. Okay. So now fast forward. That was last summer.
You know what that reminds me of before you go in the second one? Like, have you saw the movie Men in Black, like the original one?
Yeah, like a million years ago.
Well, it reminds me of the alien that was inside the human. You know, like
Yeah.
that. I don't think of the Skinwalker, but you know, like he could almost pass as human, but then he does like weird things, and it just sets the alarm bell off. Like there's something wrong with this guy.
Right.
Like,
Right, exactly. And I mean, I don't know. I think recently I'd heard, and I don't want to butcher this because I don't want to like mess up anybody's culture or anything, but I think they were saying something that like, gosh, like skinwalkers are only out west and they actually cannot leave the reservation. So I need to look into that. But regardless, it's some kind of shapeshifter or something. But this leads me to my next story. Same location, same place. And this was probably about 2 months ago. I'm working. I'm the only one there. Everybody else is out doing other things, like other kind of work. This couple pulls up and they're like, can we take a hike for a while and walk around the area and then come in and you know, buy some stuff then? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm telling them like where they can and they can't go. And they're like, okay, great, thanks. So like 20 minutes, a half hour goes by and, you know, I'm doing whatever I'm doing and they're out hiking, walking around. And the guy comes back in and it's a guy and his wife and a small child. And he goes to me, is there anything up the back here? Now, to give you a picture, this place is kind of in the middle of nowhere and it's like in the middle of the woods, and up the back is basically just a hill with trees and there's literally nothing there. Like you'd have to go over a mountain to get to something else. And even then, like there's really not much in the area. So he goes, is there anything up the back there? And I go, no. And he goes, because we just heard someone yelling for help.
oh God.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, holy crap. Okay. And they're like, yeah, like we're worried. We heard someone yelling for help. We don't know what's going on. I'm like, well, there's nothing back there, but I was like, I'm going to let the owner know regardless. So then the owner comes over and I tell him what's going on. And then the man that I spoke to told him the story and was telling him, you know, and they're visibly like concerned. They're kind of upset. Like they weren't making this up. There's no reason for them to make it up. And after they had left, I had talked to the owner and he's like, yeah, he's like, the other day I heard something really weird and I don't know what it was. And I heard these really weird noises and I've never in my life have I ever heard anything like this. Now, mind you, this guy is no nonsense guy. He is a hunter. He's like an outdoorsman. He would know what kind of animal call if there's something like that.
Right.
So for him to say, I don't know what it was is a big deal. Then his daughter and the other worker come back from whatever they're doing, right? So maybe this is like 20 minutes later. I tell them what happened, what's going on, and her dad says like what happened, and she goes, yeah. She goes, the other day, her and the other worker were working at her house, and she goes to the other worker, she's like, wait, shut up a minute. Stop talking. And she said that she heard her dad yelling and screaming for help. So she gets in her car and she books it over there and drives as fast as she can over to his house, which is not far away. And she rushes over, she bolts in the door, she whips the door open, and there's her mom and dad sitting on the couch watching TV.
Oh, golly.
And then, because she's like, I heard you yelling. I thought you were yelling for help. And so she gets back home and she said she saw 2 very large foxes walking around that were very healthy looking foxes. I'm like, those were freaking skinwalkers or shapeshifters or whatever, or freaking Wendigo or some shit where it's like, I mean, I know Wendigo lore is a whole different thing and not related to like skinwalker, but like the whole Wendigo lore is like they disguise their voice or something to make you think that like a loved one is in trouble and calls you from the woods and lures you in to do whatever it is that they do to you.
Have you ever heard of a fox squeal?
I think so, yeah.
I've only heard one once, but it's, to me, when I heard it, like, it doesn't howl like a dog. Like, it doesn't sound like a dog at all. To me, it sounds like a baby squealing. And it was the freakiest sound that I've probably ever heard, because we were out at nighttime at a bonfire over at my friend's house, and one went off, and everybody just kind of stopped. It was like, what the hell is that? Is that like a kid screaming? But the owner of the property is like, no, we just have a couple foxes over in the side yard. Like, we don't worry about them so much. But I mean, it's sounded like a human child, like a younger child, like say like 5, 6, 7 years old. It's kind of interesting, maybe I experienced something a little more weird.
Maybe you did.
I know, maybe.
I know animals can make very weird sounds, like coyotes are horrifying. Certain times of the year, coyotes will run through my property, and they run in a pack, and you can hear them. They're all like yipping and yowling and making barking and noises, and it is like, it scares the shit out of me. Like, you wake up in the middle.
It's a very primal sign.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. But I mean, just the fact that this guy is like a hunter and, he knows animal noises. And he's like, I've never heard anything like that before. And I was like, I don't know what it was. So just to tie into the not deer story, and I had actually texted him, the guy who had the not deer story. I was like, hey, can you just recount the details for me? And he's like, yeah, sure. When I get a break at work, like, I'll send it to you. And then he never did. And then I hit him up like a couple hours before it went on. I'm like, hey, I'm recording at like 8 o'clock. Can you, message me if you're not busy or whatever? And I haven't heard from him. Pretty much, I guess, those are the details. But I wanted to see if he had anything else to add to it.
Those are really cool stories. I enjoy hearing like some more personal ones, like that, like an eyewitness type of thing. But I tell you what, I really enjoy that, for the last 2 episodes, it's kind of been about me and my trips and what I've been doing. This one's all about Laura and what Laura's doing. So refreshing to let you take control this time.
I guess.
Don't be shy.
I do have some other kind of exciting news. I don't know. Well, I have joined like a paranormal team, so we have some things booked and coming up for investigations. Like, we're going to Pennhurst.
So what is Pennhurst?
At some point.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so that's in Pennsylvania. That's close to like Philly. That's an old asylum. Used to be like an insane asylum, and like, as of any asylum, it was overcrowded. People weren't treated the best. They didn't know how to handle mental illness, things like that. And they actually do, like, they'll open it up, and they actually will do like a haunted house, like an actual haunted house, like with actors and stuff like that for like Halloween. They kind of do that thing. I'm actually not sure if they stopped doing that now or not, because I can't remember, but they do rent it out for people, and you could like rent it out for the night. And somebody that's actually on our paranormal team is actually a tour guide that works at Pennhurst.
Wow. How cool is that?
I like just joined, and I've only been to like 2 places with this group, and I met him once, and he was really nice. So it'll be pretty cool to have the place to ourselves and actually have a tour guide that's there, so they've been there too. Like, I think they go almost like every year or something. So
that'd be fun for you.
Yeah, we're supposed to go back to Fort Mifflin, which I'm so excited. I've been ready to go back to Fort Mifflin since I was still there. That's just such a freaking cool place. So Fort Mifflin will be in the spring. Pennhurst is going to be in the fall. We also have Mid-Orange Correctional Facility booked. That's going to be like early summer. That is a place up in New York, and I guess it was like a correctional facility for like boys back in the day. That's supposed to be really haunted. And honestly, I am kind of nervous to go to like Penhurst or go to Mid-Orange because those places weren't the best to people and that bad energy is left over. So I'm honestly kind of worried about picking up a lot of residual energy and it affecting me badly.
It's a fair thought.
Yeah. I'm still gonna go, but I'm a little more weary of Penhurst because I don't know. I just have a feeling like
insane asylums, you know? Yep.
Yeah. I just have a feeling like it's not whatever, but I always try to bring like I do all the woo-woo stuff. I put the crystals in my pocket and wear the crystal bracelets, and then I'll bring my Palo Santo and my sage sticks and everything like that and use that when I'm done if I need to or whatever. So
right. It sounds like you got a busy year. I'm looking forward to hearing about them.
And then I think next month we're actually going to Burnbrae Mansion, which I went there like 2 years ago on a trip with Tony Merkel from the Confessionals. He's another podcaster, and his brother-in-law owns a guitar group company, so they set that all up. So we went up there. That place is haunted too. That place is definitely haunted. Like there's some weird stuff that happened there. Like when I was trying to fall asleep, I got touched twice. And then I had like this really messed up image flash in my head as I was trying to fall asleep. And I got really pissed off. That's not cool because I knew that thought didn't come from myself. And when we were investigating, we would go into like different rooms and we would go into what we would call lockdown. So you would know everybody's split up, but everybody's shut in a different room. We could hear footsteps walking through the freaking hallways.
Ooh.
I swear to God. We went into the attic and I was feeling this cold breeze around my legs. And I had jeans on that had holes in them. And I mean, this was like during the summer, so it was hot, stuffy attic. And I'm getting this cold breeze around my legs. I could tell everybody like didn't believe me. They're like, whatever, you have holes in your pants. Like, it's just it's just the air. I'm like, no, dude, it's hot and stuffy in here. I'm telling you, I'm getting a cold feeling. I also had this weird staticky electric feeling go across my back, which is also another kind of, it's weird. Like, I'll get that feeling in haunted places sometimes. I got it in Devil's Den once in Gettysburg. Anyways, so someone came into the attic. It was actually the guy who does the tour, his girlfriend, Jen. They open up the door and they walk in the attic and she's like, ooh. She's like, I feel this really cool breeze around my legs. And I was like,
I told you.
Thank you. I was like, thank you. I was like, see, I'm not full of shit. I'm not making this up. And then everybody just kind of sat there and just kind of like looked at us. And it's really cool because I've gone on 2 trips with them now. Jen and I usually feel a lot of the same things. We'll pick up on a lot of the same things. So it gets pretty neat to like have somebody else go back and forth with when we go to these locations. Yeah, so now that I rambled on for about an hour.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, hopefully nobody's sick of listening to me. Oh my goodness. I'm going to be sick of listening to myself when I edit this. Like, will you just shut up already?
I'm cutting all this out. We're not doing this.
That's the sad part, too, because I feel like a lot of that's going to be like that. Because I get real self-conscious and I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to cut myself out.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a very productive episode. I'm always, like I said, really interested in hearing, the eyewitness type things, things people saw, things people felt, a large amount of haunted places up in Pennsylvania.
Oh my God, there's so much stuff.
Yep. I mean, there are some around here, but it's not like there. Because, I mean, Pennsylvania has a much, what's the word I want? Like, longer history. Like, it's been, populated a lot longer than Tennessee, which Tennessee's not that far behind, but it's not like, going out west or anything like that. But still.
Yeah, but I mean, the other thing too is, yes, you're right on that. Like, I mean, there is more of, a history. But once you start like looking into stuff, there's way more stories than you would think. And also, don't forget about the Smoky Mountains are in your state. That is supposed to be really messed up, which I really want to go investigate.
I've been up there a couple times, and I've never saw anything weird, but I also stayed I didn't go hiking in the woods. We went to like
Yeah.
Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge and, like the big touristy places.
Mm-hmm.
But the mountains are absolutely gorgeous. I haven't been up there since, it's probably been 5 years ago now, that there was a huge fire up there, like a forest fire.
Oh, really?
So they said that a lot of the woods around Gatlinburg and that area had burned down. And I'm kind of curious to go back there and see it, like,
oh, wow.
to see how barren it is. I mean, I'm sure a lot of it's regrown in 5 years, but you're not going to get that old growth trees or anything.
I mean, from what I understand, it's a pretty massive area, so it probably didn't even like put much of a dent in it. I mean, I don't know how much burnt either, though.
From what I remember, it was mostly around the city itself. Like, you could probably drive out into the Smoky Mountain National Park, I think. I think that's what it's called. And I'm sure once you got out of the city a ways, because that's an old growth forest, and I would imagine it's, spooky.
Who I was talking about, Tony Merkel, he did used to live in Pennsylvania, and now he did move down to the Smoky Mountains, and he talks about going out there and investigating, and there's weird stuff going on in the woods and shit like that. And I mean, I know there's another YouTuber that I found that goes out in the woods there, and he has weird stuff happen, and there's a lot of strange stories from the Smokies.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The whole Appalachian Trail area, the Appalachians.
Yeah, I mean,
it's weird. It's real weird.
Geologically speaking, those are some of the oldest mountains in the entire world. They think that the Appalachian Mountains, when they were first formed, were taller than the Rocky Mountains are today.
Oh, wow, really?
That's how much they've eroded. That's how old they are,
That makes sense if they're that old, and erosion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, when you get something that's been around that long, a lot of weird things could happen.
Yeah. The only time I've ever seen the Smoky Mountains is when I was years and years ago. I was driving down to see you. And I remember driving through like the Smoky Mountains, and it was absolutely beautiful. And it really did look like there was smoke coming out of the mountains.
Yeah.
I just wish I would have had time to go explore there.
Yeah, because you drove like right down the spine of the Apple, like through Virginia.
Yep.
A lot of Virginia and then East Tennessee for sure.
Yeah, and I think the people that were driving, I think both of them got a speeding ticket in Virginia.
You don't mess around with Virginia.
Yeah, no, like apparently the cops are real dicks there. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're really bad about, you have like a taillight out or like a crack in your windshield. I mean, they have some of the strictest like car maintenance type things. Like you have to get your car inspected every single year. And if you have like a chip in your windshield, they won't renew your license and you have to go get it fixed. Not your license, but your car registration. It has to be fixed before they'll let you register your car for the year. Like exhaust leaks. It's wild, the stuff they look at there.
Well, we do inspections and stuff. Do you guys not have inspections? I guess you don't have inspections down there on your vehicle, do you? Yeah, no, we have that.
We used to have emission inspections. Like where, they check your emissions out and make sure you're not polluting. And they got rid of those now. So literally, like all I have to do, I can get online, do an app on my phone and renew my tags every year. It's like $70.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be you'd have to go like to the emission place and, they'd hook up the little sensor underneath your dashboard and you'd pay them $10 and then you'd have to drive over to the county clerk's office and get your new tags for the year. But no, it's easy peasy now, which is probably not that great for the environment, to be fair, but
yeah.
Yeah. Now, I think there are some counties in Tennessee that still do emissions. I think Nashville, which is Davidson County, I think they still do emissions. And then I think Shelby County, which is Memphis, I think they still do emissions. But most of the counties in Tennessee do not.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I mean, if it's like, kind of middle of nowhere.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with it because, the reason the air quality is so good is because they had us do emissions. Now that we're not doing emissions again, to me, it seemed like the air quality would go back down eventually, and then we'll be right back to where we started. But that's kind of a political question.
Yeah, and there's more electric cars now and all that kind of stuff. So it probably balances itself out somewhat.
Probably. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much all we got for this week.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so, guys, send us in your stories now that Nomar kicked it off. And like you were saying, how you like the first-hand encounters, that's my go-to. That's my favorite thing. Like, if there's podcasts and, you know, if they have one that says listener stories, I'm going to click on that first, because to me, that's like it's the most interesting to me, because it just seems to be the most legit. Because yeah, some people could make stuff up, but for what? You're not getting money, you're not getting fame, you're making the risk of making yourself look like you're crazy or something. So
right.
To me, most of the truth lies within, you know, just everyday people's stories, and that's what I love about it so much. That's why I'm like, guys, come on, send us your stories, please. We'll read them, you know, keep them anonymous if you want, whatever. We'll say your name if you want. Like, I don't care. I just want to get your stories.
I do have to say, though, that I am quite proud of the anonymous person that sent you the bowl cut picture.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say it.
Yes. Laura sent it to me. What was that, last week or late last week, I think?
Something like, yeah.
And I had a huge laugh about it. So thank you, that anonymous person. You know who you are.
They know who they are.
For sending that to me.
It was like, Aaron, it finally happened.
And I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
That was great.
I have my bowl cut picture, so now I'll have to find something else to get somebody to send to me. I'll have to keep my eyes and ears open.
Yeah. I actually didn't think that would happen. So now it's kind of like a fun challenge we got going on. What do we come up with next?
I know. I have to work hard on that one.
Oh, you'll come up with something. I know you will. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for listening. And I think Laura has all the details to close us out for the night.
Yeah. So send us your emails, please, guys.
Please.
At midnight_in-the-mountains@yahoo.com. And you can always hit us up on Instagram at midnight_in-the-mountains. And check out our new YouTube channel. And then just
like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe, please, and share. And also, you know, follow us on all the platforms and all the things like that.
All right, Laura, you have a good night.
Yeah, you too. We will talk to you later.
Goodbye.